a meter thick. So the stains I was looking at were as narrow or narrower than the edge of a dime, and knew that I would have the photos that I could enlarge for subsequent examination if that became necessary.
Okay. Were you aware that prior to you getting on scene, that there was a bed in that southeast corner of that particular bedroom, Gannon's bedroom?
Yes, sir.
Had you seen pictures of that, including a picture of Gannon lying in that bed prior to you going out to the scene?
Pictures of the bed on scene, yes, I believe so, but of Gannon, no. I didn't see that picture until I was there on February 26th.
Okay, so you saw the picture of Gannon in bed on February 26th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So did that help you as you're looking at this scene and doing your analysis to know, I guess, height of that bed and that sort of thing?
Primarily just the general position or location in the room of the bed.
Okay. I guess what I'm asking is, were there blood stains on the walls that were both above and below the height of that bed?
Yes, sir, there were.
Was that to some degree helpful for you in doing your analysis of this case?
Yes, there were 54 labels that CSI Beresford had put on the the south and east walls, each with a scale and a number. And in looking at all of those and comparing to the photos that I had, could see that there were between 2 and 3 dozen stains that were below stains on the walls that were below the reported height of the bed.
Do you remember by placard number or sticker number specifically which items were below the height of the bed?
I don't remember. I'd need to refer to my report on that, sir.
Okay, perfect. If you refer to your report, would that refresh your memory on that point?
It would.
Or may he refresh his memory using his report?
May, go ahead.
Your Honor, may I read the label numbers from my report?
Just the label number, so
Yes.
that the attorneys know what you're referring to, that's okay.
Yes. Thank you. On the east wall, A1, A2, stains A9 through A21, A24 through A27, A30, and B5. And on the other wall, the stains are A34, A36 through A44, and A46.
Okay. And what I want to do is, just so that we can have the jury following along with us, is using that binder, can you find the exhibit that you think would be best to give us an overall view of those walls, and then have you point some of those things out for us? And it's probably going to be more towards the top of that stack as opposed to deep in there, because it starts out wide and then gets more narrowed.
There's no audio on their end right now. Letecia looks like she's eating her hair.
The ones I'm finding for the first wall, People's Exhibit 558 and People's Exhibit 563.
Okay, so we're going to project People's Exhibit 558, which was previously emitted under Crime Scene Investigator Alyssa Beresford on the screen behind you. I'm going to leave it to your preference, whether it's easier for you to describe by looking at the photo in front of you and just talking about it, or if you want to stand up and point to things on the screen, you can do that as well. There should be a pointer in the witness stand. And so actually, let's go to 540 first to get a better overall view so we can then drill into where we are here. Okay, so we've got 540 on the screen behind you, which is an overview photo of that bedroom, correct?
Yes, sir.
When we look at 558, point out which wall we're going to be looking at in 558. Nope, I need this picture up. There we go.
People's Exhibit 558 is primarily going from the upper right-hand corner down the wall and extending over to just at the electrical outlet.
I'm going to compliment you. You've got longer arms than most of the witnesses I've been here during this trial. You can feel free if it's easier instead of stretching to stand up and point.
Okay.
Your preference. Okay, so now let's jump into 558. Okay, so describe what we're looking at for the jury as far as generally stains that are above the bed and stains that are below the bed based on what you just gave us.
I may refer to my list again.
So let me ask you this question. What you're asking to refer to, is that your report that you generated based on your analysis in this case?
Yes, sir.
Is it an expert report?
Yes, sir.
What things do you rely upon to create your expert report?
Information that I receive, photographs I receive, documents such as autopsy reports, lab reports. When I do an on-scene analysis, I have that information I bring into play. And I then examine, analyze the blood stains, look to characterize them, and ultimately issue a written report on my findings.
Okay. And as an expert in this field, is it common for you to rely on all of those things and your expert report as you're talking about what you find and your ultimate conclusions?
Yes, sir, particularly if I'm dealing with particular stains or groups of stains.
Is the information that you relied upon in this case, including all of these stickers that are all over the walls in Gannon's room signifying blood spatter, is that a fairly voluminous amount of information?
Yes, we're talking 54 stains on 2 walls.
And how many pictures would you guess were used by you to make an examination of these walls?
54 pictures, one of each labeled area on the bedroom walls, and then additional photographs of blood stains on baseboard, the bottom of the walls, and then area of the flooring in that same southeast corner of the bedroom.
Each one of those, I'm going to use words that you might not agree with. So if I use words that you don't agree with, make sure you tell me, okay? Those stickers that are on the walls that look like little rulers. You see what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
Do each one of those stickers have individual numbering sequence to identify separate and distinct blood stain patterns, or blood stains, I should say?
I may. Not the arrows, no, but rather the scales adjacent to some of the arrows. It's these individual metric scales that have identifiers for labeling each of those adhesive strips.
So when you say there's 54 stains, does that mean there's 54 stickers, one sticker essentially for each one of those stains?
Yes, there are 54 stickers, most of them by a single stain, but there are some that were by more than one stain.
And then you mentioned the arrow stickers. What are the arrow stickers for?
Would have to ask the person taking a photo of that.
Okay, so there's 54 stickers for the blood stains on there, and then a number of arrows on the wall that Alyssa Beresford or somebody else might have put there.
Yes, sir.
The pictures that we're looking at, especially as you look at Alyssa Beresford's photos, do they start out wide like this and then start to drill down in closer focus to finally you get a very up close view of a specific stain and sticker?
Yes, sir.
So would you say there are hundreds of pictures of this particular crime scene to get that detail starting out wide and then coming in focus?
At least 100, if not more. Yes.
Okay. And so when you ask about, can you refer to your expert report, is it common for you to rely on that to make sure that what you're testifying to is accurate and making sure the jury understands what you're saying?
Yes, sir. If I'm getting into detailed information about locations of stains relative to some object or questions about any particular stain.
And so, Your Honor, based on that, I would ask that he have freedom to just reference his report, just as long as he tells us that he's referencing his report.
That's fine.
So when I was asking you before we went on that slight tangent, can you point to us on the wall, this being that eastern wall in Gannon's bedroom, generally which stains are below the bed level in Gannon's room on this eastern wall?
I'll need to compare the photos since reading the labels, stain numbers aren't very visible.
That's fine. Just make sure you tell us which exhibit you're looking at so that I can put that particular photo up and our record is clear.
using People's Exhibit 558, we're talking, I'm using the pointer here, few inches above the electrical outlet. The stains that are at or below the height of the bed extend from a couple of inches above the electrical outlet down.
What does that tell you when you're looking at a scene like this, that there's stains both above and below a bed that should have been in place in that corner?
That in order to create spatter stains, the blood source has to be, at least for some of the spatter stains, below where the top of the bed would be.
Okay. Can you tell the jury what we mean when we use the phrase nonlinear spatter?
Looking at physical characteristics as a scientific approach to bloodstain pattern analysis, after determining if there are just spatter stains present, I then look for one of two physical characteristics. The first is, do any of the stains have a linear or curvilinear relationship? And if I find stains exhibiting that, I then examine them more closely, looking at their shapes in particular. If there is no linearity apparent, the next criteria I use is looking at the presence or absence of a radiating distribution, meaning do the blood stains originate low at a point and then spread out, similar to what would happen with the axle of a wheel and the spokes of a bike coming out, or the analogy that seems to work best with classes that I teach is to imagine a triangular slice of pizza and the blood source is down at the tip and the radiating pattern is going out along the rest of the pizza slice towards the crust and the edge. And if neither of those criteria are present, then I stop and call the classification as non-linear bloodstains.
How did you classify these bloodstains?
They were non-linear.
What does that tell you as a bloodstain pattern analysis expert?
That eliminates the presence of or the identification of patterns based on the size, shape, and distribution of those stains, keeping in mind any possibility for some type of removal or stains falling off and things like that.
When you were out at the scene and potentially even as you're looking at photos of this particular scene, these walls and the floor and whatnot, baseboards, could you tell whether there had been any cleanup efforts undertaken by someone prior to you being involved in this investigation?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury about that, please.
I noticed primarily along the baseboards, the appearance of diluted blood, some of it flowing along a horizontal surface or edge of a baseboard. That suggests a possibility of some type of diluting action on the blood stains, example of which would be some type of cleanup or removal.
I'm gonna have you pull up a particular photo here. Let me pull it up here in my list. If you flip in that binder that's in front of you to 647 and then beyond that, those should be pictures of the baseboard that were admitted under CSI Alyssa Beresford. Are you at that point?
I am, sir.
And so what I would like you to do is identify a good picture that we can project up there, and you can describe what you're talking about with the cleanup efforts, the signs of a cleanup effort, I should say. I'm sure there's nothing more fun than flipping through a binder with about 50 sets of eyes on you.
A good example would be Cable's Exhibit 659.
Okay, we're gonna put that that photograph up on the screen behind you. I think you have to turn the lid on that thing, otherwise it,
And be
Or maybe
careful
not.
when you open it because it comes out fast.
Thank you, Ron.
while testifying, we like to give you dexterity tests as well.
I'll take all the hints.
So, Mr. Griffin, we've got 659 on the screen behind you. So please stand up and use that pointer and point out what we're talking about with the signs that you see in this particular photo that signify a cleanup effort had been undertaken.
Looking at two aspects primarily. The first is along the top of the baseboard, which I'm using the pointer to show as far as for the record. And then down on the vertical surface of the baseboard, just above the easel, where there appears to be, again, diluted blood across the surface of the baseboard at that part.
Are all the jurors able to see with that easel in the way, or do we need to move it for anybody? Everybody's good? Oh, okay. So what about those particular blood stains tell you that there's some cleanup?
They appear to be diluted from the dark reddish brown color normally I find for blood on scenes.
The other pictures of the baseboard, are they similar to this where they have that potential flow and even potentially some wiped marks?
There are a couple, yes.
Okay.
This is probably the best one.
Okay. And all these photos will be available for the jury to look at some point when they get to a deliberation stage. Were any of the blood stains on the walls drip stains?
No, if I may explain drip stains.
So I was going to ask you to explain drip stains.
One of the forces acting on blood drops is gravity. And like blood, water, any other liquid, when a drop is formed, unless there's something other than gravity acting on it, the drop falls straight down. Drip stains are just that, blood stains that are a result of primarily gravity acting on a blood source. So individual blood stains, usually circular on horizontal objects, are shown. You can have drip stains on walls. However, those are characteristic by being long and thin. And there were no such stains on either of these walls.
Are you familiar with the phrase distribution cone or cone of distribution?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury what we mean when we use those words.
I testified earlier about looking at characteristic of radiating bloodstains. We start our examination in 2 dimensions. And a fan-shaped distribution of stains is a radiating distribution back to the pizza slice. Actually, blood travels in 3 dimensions. So blood that's coming out of some blood source, and a blood source is kept generic because it can be many types of objects, not just people. The blood will come out in a cone, and that cone increasing top to bottom, left to right, as the cone goes, the blood goes forward in that cone. Very similar to a megaphone in appearance. And we refer to that 3-dimensional distribution as a dispersion cone.
Can there be voids in a dispersion cone?
Among other places, yes, sir.
What is a void?
A void is an absence of blood in an otherwise continuous bloodstain pattern, which is a little subjective in determining the presence of a void, since an absence of blood may due simply to the fact there was no blood put on that given area. What we look for to strengthen the presence of voids is a obvious break in a pattern. Best example would be thinking of it as a shadow effect, where there's a circular object on the wall, a dispersion cone impacts that wall, and that dispersion cone is primarily going to be of blood drops that create spatter stains. If that circular object, clock, or plate is removed, it has blocked blood from going onto the wall. So the spatter stains will stay on the object and leave a clear, unstained, or void area on the wall.
Did you have void areas or potential void areas in this particular scene as well?
Yes, sir. There was one area I looked at as a potential void.
Which area was that?
That was on the wall near the window.
Okay. And so if we go back to that overall photograph that shows the scene from a wide angle, which I think is 558. Yes. 540 is the number. Thank you. So we're looking now on at 540 displayed on the screen behind you and on the screen to my left. Which wall are you talking about has a potential void?
The wall on the right half of the screen. I think that's the south wall.
Should be the south wall.
And we have a distribution of stains in the southeast corner that has aspects of a dispersion cone, but not enough that I felt comfortable saying it was a dispersion cone. It's a distribution of stains that decrease as we go up from the floor along the wall. And just above the letter B as in boy on this baseboard, very near the vertical scale that runs along the window that I'm pointing out with the pointer, there is an open area between, I believe it was labels B40 and B46. That shows an absence of blood.
You mentioned that when we first started talking about voids, that it could be that just no blood went to that area.
Yes, sir.
Could a person standing between a victim that's expelling blood prevent blood from getting onto that area as well?
That's one option. Yes, sir.
What other options are there?
Some other object that might be present there. And one of the supports for, again, presenting a void, going back to the example I presented of the clock or circular plate on a wall, that object, if it would have blood stains on it, that the blood landed on that intervening object and not the wall. So I would be looking for spatter stains on any object that may have been what we call an intermediate target. So that can be a person or an inanimate object.
Okay. We've talked already that there was a bed in place there. Was there also an absence of blood on the bed frame?
Yes, per Sergeant Hubble, there was.
Okay. Is that something you would rely on to make your analysis of this particular scene?
Yes, sir. That, and as well as during my examination on scene, I looked at the ceiling in the southeast corner. I did my own examination of the south and east walls with the idea second set of eyes never hurts. And then blood source on or near the floor in this corner. Blood source on.
It, that sort of thing. Did you make a preliminary assessment as to what types of events could have caused this type of blood pattern analysis or blood stain pattern?
I did, yes, sir.
What was that?
On February 26th, between approximately 1:15 when I finished my on-scene examination and after packing up supplies, I met with Sergeant Hubble and Lieutenant Mahalko, and told them I would give them very preliminary result, nothing in writing. It could be subject to change based on additional information. And basically what I told him is, given the pooling and the spatter stains on the two walls and the nature of patterns that are there and patterns that are not, I would look at one of or a combination of three possible events. One event would be a shooting in which the wound is a penetrating wound, meaning there is no exit, since there were no defects that I observed anywhere in the wall or the floor. So one possible wounding mechanism is gunshot. A second possible mechanism would be some type of event that involved creating blunt force trauma, such as beatings and stompings. The third event or mechanism, we use them interchangeably, would be some type of action or energetic activity involving a bladed object. Not necessarily knife, but what I call a bladed object, generically speaking, or a combination of those three.
So when you say a bladed object, are you just meaning a sharp object?
Sharp object, yes, sir.
Okay. You mentioned a penetrating gunshot, but you mentioned no defects were found. Did you not find any bullet holes in the walls or impacts on the floor or anything like that?
I did not. I did not find any of those.
Okay. Once you were able to get the autopsy report, what did that do regarding your preliminary opinion as to what types of events or mechanisms could have caused this bloodstain pattern?
In reading Gannon's autopsy report, it noted the pathologist reported blunt force trauma to Gannon's head, a penetrating gunshot wound, I believe, to the jaw, the face area, and then sharp forced injuries, bladed object injuries to the rest of his body, with, I believe, at least half of those being on his hands and his arms.
And specifically as it relates to that sharp force injury portion, 18 separate sharp force injuries, is that right?
That's right.
I'm going to have you go to flip all the way through to in that binder. We've got 3 exhibits in a section labeled for just you. And those are exhibit 684, 685, and 686.
Pardon me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Are you to that section there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we're talking about 684, 685, and 686, do you recognize those photographs?
I do.
How do you recognize them?
People's Exhibit 684 and 685 are among the 360 plus photographs I was given to examine as part of my examination and analysis for bloodstain patterns. People's Exhibit 684 is generally well-lit photo showing the walls in the southeast corner. The carpet and pad at the southeast corner no longer present. And People's Exhibit 685 is a very dark photograph with faint blue coloration showing in the image.
Are those sequence of photos, 684, 685, and 686, essentially overlaying 684 and 685 to get to 686?
Yes, sir. People's Exhibit 686 is an overlay I created using Photoshop software, which is an overlay is one technique that we use when documenting the effect of the use of Blue Star on scenes, balancing the darkness required for the Blue Star and some well-lit or good lighting to show the overall aspects of the scene. So the locations where there is Blue Star reacting can be seen better in an overlay.
Did you do this in this particular case because of the potential significance of this scene having been cleaned up? Meaning Blue Star would react to show a greater dispersion than what you're seeing in these bloodstain patterns?
Actually, my reason for doing it was simply to see what could be shown with the overlay of the two photos, regardless of any type of blood removal activity.
And what did this inform you as to your analysis?
The Blue Star showed positive reaction on both the south and the east walls and the southeast corner on the floor beneath where the saturated carpet and pad was.
Okay. Are these fair and accurate photos?
Yes, sir.
You're going to move for admission of 684, 685, and 686.
No objection. 684, 85, and 86 will be admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
May I go ahead?
Okay, so we've got 684 on the screen there. Is this just basically that same southeast corner of Gannon's bedroom with those same blood stain markers on the walls?
Yes, sir.
And then if we move on to 685. What is 685?
That is the photo taken in darkness after the application of the blue star.
Does this photo, as we're projecting it on the screen, is it brighter than what's actually printed out in people's 685 in that binder in front of you?
Yes, very much so.
What does this tell us when we see this sort of, I mean, to me, it looks like a constellation in the night sky or something. What does this tell us?
Blue star is a chemical that's used as a searching tool for diluted blood. And it is a presumptive indicator of blood. Blue star will react with non-blood, but it's designed to go react primarily or to react and show the presence of diluted blood.
So let me ask you a question, just to clarify really where I want to go with this, and that is, this looks like more than 54 marker potentials. Why are we seeing more in this than we see when we look at the overall normally lit photographs with the markers stuck to the wall?
The bright blue color from the blue star would indicate areas of possibly diluted blood being present on scene on both the walls and the baseboard and the floor.
No way to tell for sure whether that all of those spots would be blood, though, correct?
Correct, not without sampling and good luck.
Okay. And if we could go on to 686. Is this the overlay of 684 and 685?
Yes, sir.
Again, is this brighter than what's printed out in people's 686 in the binder in front of you?
Yes, sir.
Why do we not see, I'm looking at the floor with that bigger blood stain on the concrete there. Why is that part not blue, even though that's blood?
There could be a couple of reasons for it. One is the amount of blood might be so minimal that the blue star has no reaction with it, and therefore no reaction as shown in the other areas. Could also be due to the spraying of the luminol, the blue star, and areas that might receive more of the blue star reagent than other areas.
Is luminol and blue star essentially the same thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on what you're seeing in this particular scene, I'm going to make an assumption in the way I'm asking this question. If that's all a result of what happened to Gannon, based on your reviewing this scene and the autopsy report, is it likely that Gannon would not be up and walking around after suffering this attack?
From bloodstain pattern analysis, I can say that with it being Gannon's blood, he's on or near the floor for at least one, or in some cases, a minimum of 2 impact events, spatter producing events. But I'm not able to opine on his mobility in relation to that.
Well, you reviewed the autopsy report, correct?
Yes, sir.
There's 4 blunt force trauma injuries to the head, right?
Yes, sir.
There's also the gunshot to the left chin / jawline.
Yes, sir.
In that autopsy report, it has trajectory of the bullet through the head area of Gannon.
Yes, sir.
Including potentially, according to the doctor, that it severed the spinal column.
Yes, sir.
So can you not make a likelihood determination based on that information in conjunction with your scene?
Agree. Sustained.
Okay. As far as your report, we can take the photo down. As far as your report, we've already talked about the contents of it being based on lots of different things, right?
Yes, sir.
Your training and experience goes into producing this report?
Yes.
Photographs,
Yes, sir.
access to and review of other expert reports like the autopsy report and crime lab report, including DNA.
Yes, sir.
Would it be helpful for the jury to have access to your report in some point after you're on the stand?
Sustained.
Your Honor, at this time, I would move for admission of People's Exhibit 682, which is his report, and that would be pursuant to CRE 1006.
I'm going to object to the report actually going into evidence, Your Honor.
Yeah, well, let me see the report. Thank you. The objection is sustained on a little bit different grounds. First of all, this is to the extent that it requires expertise to understand any of the items that are contained in the report. The jury would not have this expert with them at the time to try and understand what the report meant. So there's not an expert to explain the items in the report that require expertise. To the extent that the report contains opinions that have already been offered by the expert, the report is cumulative to the expert's testimony. So I will deny.
Give me just a second. It started cutting out again.
Or less in size.
And what would that indicate to you? Would that indicate low velocity, medium velocity, or high velocity?
We don't use those velocity terms in bloodstain. What the size indicates is a spatter producing event. So that blood is broken up by some type of energetic activity.
Can you tell, based upon the size of the stains, what was the event that caused the spatter? And just for example, my understanding is like a gunshot is going to produce smaller spatter than blunt force trauma. And so based upon the size of the blood stains that were on the wall, can you make a determination or an educated guess on the mechanism?
No, sir. You're correct in that generally blood patterns produced by gunshot wounds create smaller blood drops and therefore smaller stains than you get with blunt force trauma. But based on the size of the stains, I don't feel that I can eliminate an event.
Is that because that it had been there, it appears there had been some effort to clean that? Or is that because of the way that the Blue Star picks it up? Or is there some other type of reason that we're not able to use the size of the blood stains to make a determination of the mechanism?
I would say it's a combination of the apparent removal of blood stains, such as by however you said, washing or cleaning,
Okay.
and the ability of the Blue Star to indicate the presence of diluted blood whose stains may be too small to actually see.
Okay. The gunshot wound to like the underside of the chin, what type of blood spatter would you expect that to create?
The term that we apply to blood associated with gunshot entrance wounds is called the backspatter. It's blood that has blood droplets that have come back towards the direction of force. So I would be looking for primarily blood stains, 1-2 millimeters in size, maybe less.
Okay. Or, I don't think. The gunshot wound, since that was only an entrance wound, would he have had to be facing the wall for any of the blood spatter to come from the gunshot wound?
Not necessarily facing the side of his head, could be positioned so a dispersion cone partially goes that way towards the wall.
And how close would he have had to been to the wall for the gunshot wound to cause the blood spatter?
There's no hard limiting data for that. It's usually looked at as being within 4 to 6 feet.
Okay. And so is the term like low velocity, medium velocity, and high velocity, is that no longer used in your field?
That's correct.
Okay.
Swigstein worked on those terms and replaced them.
When did you do that? A while ago?
Swigstein, we formed in 2002, so somewhere in the mid 2000s.
Okay. But I mean, there still is, my understanding is the mechanism will produce different size droplets of blood to spatter. So something that is contacting at very high velocity will make smaller blood stains. Something at a medium, blunt force trauma used to be referred to as medium velocity because it's kind of a medium speed of the blood flowing out. And then there was low velocity, that can come from like a knife wound or something like that. Is that so generally a premise?
It's still generally looking at the preponderance of stain size. Yes, sir.
Are you able to make a determination based upon the size of any of the blood spatter that was on either one of the walls, whether they were caused by a sharp object like a knife wound or whether they were caused by something that'd be more akin to what we would call medium velocity in the old days of blunt force trauma?
I'm not able to.
Can you tell how many events took place to cause that blood spatter?
A minimum of 2 based on the dispersion of the blood and the direction blood drops have traveled. So the minimum is the best I can offer.
Can you offer a maximum?
No, sir.
Could it have been many? 10?
Again, I can't put a number to it, sir.
Okay. Would any of the events had to have occurred above the bed? Because we talked that some of them had to occur below the bed based upon where the spatter was. There's anything indicating that any of them would have had to occur above the bed?
I think it's possible, yes, sir.
Anything that you saw that would indicate one more than the other?
No, sir, not given the potential for cleanup.
You reviewed the autopsy?
Excuse me,
You reviewed the autopsy in this case?
the report, yes, sir.
You're aware there were also two bullet projectiles found in the pellet case? When Gannon was recovered?
I'm not remembering it independently, sir.
Okay. You didn't see anything in that room that would indicate an object that had been struck by a bullet?
Correct, I did not.
And lastly, you're not just here out of the goodness of your heart.
No, sir.
You're getting paid by the district attorney's office.
Yes, sir.
How much are you getting paid?
Our company rate is $295 an hour.
And do you know how many hours you put in on this?
I don't remember the billing hours I did for my on-scene analysis in the report. It's more hours than I billed.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. No further questions.
Redirect.
So we got a discount?
Tell.
You were asked about different sizes of these, the potential for different sizes by Mr. Tellini. You testified previously, though, that each one of these was 1 millimeter or less. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Did the fact that this area appeared to have been cleaned up impair your ability to find bigger and smaller size blood stains on this wall?
That's possible, yes.
You were asked about the number of events and you said minimum of 2, but you could not give a maximum.
That's correct.
In reference to that, you obviously saw the autopsy report.
Yes, sir.
So could it have included enough events to include 4 blunt force trauma injuries, 18 stab wounds, and 1 gunshot wound? Can it go that high?
It's possible, factoring in that incised wounds such as were reported for Gannon's hands and arms. They can act as blood sources as well to produce spatter stains.
Meaning, let me break in there. Do you mean that an arm might be moving and causing blood to fly off the arm?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I have.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Mr. Griffin? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Counsel approach, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our afternoon recess. If I can have everyone back in the jury room at, say, 3:25, we should be able to start time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Please remember the instructions that I gave you about leaving the jury room. You don't want to cause Mr. Combs to tear out his hair for obvious reasons, you can see. So with that, we will take our break. All rise for the jury, please. Thank you. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Excuse me, is there anything you need me to stop? All right.
All right, sorry about that. So they're on break until 3:25. So 10, 15 minutes. All right, sorry about that. So they're on break until 3:25. I'm sure glad that Tom is done testifying. That was pretty boring, probably because we'd mostly seen all that before. But I was surprised to find out that most likely she had shot him in his own bedroom. I don't know why. I always thought it was out when she was out driving around, out in the middle of nowhere. I figured that's where she did everything. Deanna, you're right. You said it's not always the case, though. It's mostly the parent who wants to get back at the other parent. We see it all the time with all of these cases with children. Jealousy about the, bio parents' relationship with the child, or jealousy in general. I don't get it. I mean, I get, being a step parent and step families, the structure of that is really difficult to begin with. And it is difficult, to be a step parent. It's also difficult to be a stepchild. So, but, normal people like us don't go and do things like this. But I still think she's sane. I think she's just evil. That's so sad, Carrie. I mean, our family's completely blended, so I get it, but I don't get the meanness. That's awful, Carrie. Deanna, it seems like a lot of the jealousy ones are stepmothers, unfortunately. That's wonderful, Carrie, but gosh, what a shitty thing to have to, go through and live through. And especially your own fear. I sure hope this next witness is a little bit more interesting. They've really bored us today. I've been over here trying to listen and play with graphics and all sorts of things to keep myself awake. That's horrible, Carrie. And sadly, the court systems don't make it very easy to, like for you to have jumped in and tried to interfere with any of it. They make it a really difficult process, I think. Oh, Carrie, I'm so glad you have. So I don't know what was happening with the audio and video a little bit ago because I didn't touch anything, but I'm glad I've learned that I can just restart the WebEx instead of having to restart the whole stream. Technology was so much easier when I was younger. Now it seems like it takes forever to catch on to something silly and simple. Absolutely, Deanna. We are just getting started, so it's a really small group, but I love the ones that we have in here. Like every day, you guys are wonderful, and I appreciate you. So it's a really good group to get started with, I think. Carrie, I always uploaded videos, so I created videos, but I never live streamed really. I think I did my first video ever was a live stream. That was a Summer Wells one. And then I really haven't live streamed much. So just when this trial started, I knew that that's, what I wanted to do. So I don't know where it'll take me after this trial. We'll see. It's hard to get comfortable with live streaming and being on camera and stuff if you're not used to it. But my hope is I'll get used to it, be comfortable, and definitely be able to do many more planned ones other than just the trials. Thank you, Carrie. I really do enjoy it. I love true crime, so anything that has to do with true crime. I'm all over it. Thank you, Sam. Sometimes it's hard to, know what case to cover and what have you. There's always so many. It's so sad. This one tugged at my heartstrings because I remember, like the day it happened, and I followed every last bit of it. The same with Summer Wells. I lived right by her, so I've definitely covered Summer Wells' case. I didn't do the Idaho 4, even though I followed it very closely because so many other big creators were already doing it. It just was very much. Exactly, Sam. I think that's the point I was trying to get at without saying it. Like, I don't know how they talk on and on and on about the same case every day when there's really no new information. And so I try to be very factual with all the videos I put out, and I would be the same with my live streams. Like conjecture and stuff is fine as well, but I really like to keep it, my channel, a fact-based one where people, can just get the real facts and not a bunch of rumor and gossip. The Summer case is very difficult for sure. And probably because we know nothing, we don't know anything. Exactly, Sam. I agree. I definitely agree. Yeah, I didn't like Letecia from day one either. As soon as I saw her Facebook post, and then she started blaming Landon, and then she did that interview, I was like, oh, give me 5 minutes with this chick. And now I really want 5 minutes with her. It's hard to imagine, like I've said it before, Landon has shown so much class throughout this entire thing, and I don't know how she does it, man. It would take everything in me to keep from going after her in the courtroom. I'm sure it is taking everything Landon has to hold her own self back too, but yes, the Susan Smith case, she's a number, isn't she? I feel awful for her as well. She thought she was sending her kids somewhere safe. Oh yeah, I don't know why she did that interview, especially, Harley and her brother Dakota both testified that they tried to, tell her not to do it. I don't know what she thought she was going to accomplish there, but I think that's when everybody knew she was guilty of something. But they have about 4 minutes left before they come back. We're all so confused. But yeah, we knew both of them were guilty the minute we saw them on TV, for sure. So do you all follow other cases right now as well? If you do, which ones do you follow? The next one that I hope they will stream is the gosh, what's her name? The one that put her boyfriend in the suitcase during hide and seek, allegedly. Um, if we're able to view that one, I'll be streaming it. Talk about cray cray. That's it, Carrie. Sarah Boone. I have a video made that I did create about that case. If you guys haven't seen it, please take a watch on it. Yeah, definitely the Idaho 4 trial. Yeah, Sam, I really just stopped watching all lives about it. Yeah, she was horrible, Sam. She was like, this is how I feel when you cheat on me. And oh man, that was a drunk fest. Then she just goes upstairs and passes out for the night, leaving boyfriend in the suitcase. Crazy.
They don't have days, it's just how many. Between.
Right. Court will call 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time? Prosecution?
No, Your Honor.
Defense? Okay, let's go ahead and bring him in. Yeah, I wish there was a way to cool it down, but I did just.
It's a little hot in here today.
Yeah, that's the Megan Boswell case. I lived about 10 minutes from her at the time when that happened.
All rise for the jury, please.
So I also have some videos up about that as well. Yeah, Sam, if you go to my videos, I have one on her. It was Evelyn Boswell, and Megan Boswell is her mother.
Thank you. May all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Records should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. We'd call Detective Pete Woods to the stand.
Detective, if you would step forward and raise your right hand. It'll be up there. Somebody else already did that, so that's okay. Raise your right hand, sister. Do you swear affirm the testimony about this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and see the witness stand.
You're not the only one that did that either, so.
Yep, it's all good.
Good afternoon, Detective. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
My name is Peter Andrew Woods. I'm a detective with the Myrtle Beach Police Department. Spelling of my last name is Woods.
How long have you been with the Myrtle Beach Police Department?
I'm starting my 16th year with the Myrtle Beach Police Department.
Any prior law enforcement experience?
Prior to that, I did 20 years with the New York City Police Department.
I would have never guessed that in a million years. So, if my math's correct, 36 years of law enforcement experience?
Yes, sir.
What are you doing now for the Myrtle Beach Police Department?
For the last 7 years, I've been assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force of the FBI as a Myrtle Beach detective representing the interest of Myrtle Beach Police Department in the world of domestic terrorism and international terrorism.
How about in March of 2020, what were you doing for the Myrtle Beach Police Department?
I was still assigned to the Joint Terrorism Task Force. We were made aware of a person that was wanted by the municipality, the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, and I took part in, I gave a briefing for the arrest of a person that was wanted.
Would that have been on March 2nd of 2020?
The briefing, yes, was conducted at 8 a.m. at the Myrtle Beach Police Annex located in the city of Myrtle Beach at 3340 Mustang Street. I briefed the Myrtle Beach Street Crime Unit and the Myrtle Beach SWAT police officers.
And who was the person that you were briefing about, I guess, to arrest?
A woman named Letecia Stauch.
And was there a warrant for her arrest out of Colorado, El Paso County, I think?
Yes, there was.
And so who was involved in this briefing?
Myself, I conducted the briefing, but it was the members of the Lieutenant Jeremiah Beam and all of his members of his street crime unit, and Sergeant at the time Smith and members of his SWAT unit.
Were the FBI involved in this briefing?
They were also there earlier, and it was Special Agent Grant Lowe was there, and another TFO, Ryan Sipe, task force officer.
And what did you brief about? What was the purpose of this briefing?
We were made aware of that Letecia Stauch would be dropping her daughter off at the Air Force recruiting station. The Air Force recruiting station is located in the city of Myrtle Beach at 1100 Coastal Way, and that she'd be dropping her daughter off there. It was determined for safety reasons that once, in South Carolina law, anyone under the age of 18 is considered a juvenile. So when she was dropped off, we figured it was the best opportunity to take her Letecia into custody without anyone being hurt.
You mentioned this Letecia Stauch's daughter. Do you know what her name was?
Haley Hunt.
Was it Harley?
Holly Hunt.
Harley Hunt?
Yes.
And did you have pictures or photographs of these individuals so you know who you're talking about?
We had done previous surveillance before leading up to the arrest, so we knew what she looked like and we knew what Letecia looked like.
Okay. And do you see this woman named Letecia Stauch in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you point her out and describe what she's wearing?
She's wearing a white blouse with patterns of like flowers and other figures on it.
Seated to my left here.
Yes.
May the record reflect identification.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
So how did you get this information that she was going to drop Harley off at a Air Force recruiting station?
Special Agent Grant Lowe was in contact with El Paso and also with the FBI folks out here in Denver. So they had gotten us that information.
And do you know how long the defendant and her daughter were under surveillance?
For me, we had started watching her since the Thursday before. The arrest was taking place on that Monday. So since that Thursday, we watched Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So you had a good idea of their activities, and then you later learned on Monday Harley was going to be dropped off.
Yes.
And so what was the significance again of having the defendant arrested after her daughter was dropped off?
The significance was as far as safety for all concerned, because she was in a house with other people, and that was a search warrant was done at that house also, but we wanted the least amount of people at the time when we would take her into custody.
And did you have surveillance units out there on March 2nd, 2020, following them and watching all these activities take place?
Special Agent Grant Lowe followed them into the city and gave updates to all of the the Myrtle Beach Street Crime Unit, myself, and all the other people that were set up at the mall waiting for them.
And so was there a point in time where it became safe to make this arrest of Letecia Stauch?
Yes, once it was seen that the daughter was in with the recruiter and that Letecia was driving the vehicle from the scene, that was the best situation for safety for everyone, and that's when she was arrested.
And describe the arrest for the jury. How'd it go down?
She is driving away from the recruiting station, and a vehicle from behind and a vehicle from the front turn on the police blue lights and give commands to stop the vehicle. And Sergeant Smith and Police Officer Cooper approach the vehicle, take her out of the vehicle, place her in handcuffs. She subsequently searched, and the arrest took place less than a minute.
During this process, were you present? Could you
Yes.
see this happen?
Yes, I could. From where I was also sitting, we were all sitting in different places. I witnessed the whole thing.
Was the defendant the only one in this vehicle?
Yes, she was.
And what kind of vehicle was it?
It's a minivan. It was dark in color, and had property in it. So once she was removed from the vehicle was closed. The keys were taken. It was taken to the Myrtle Beach Police Annex, which is located at 3340 Mustang, and it was placed in a secure area for the FBI crime scene people to process it.
And we'll get there in just a sec. I want to talk about the actual stop of Miss Stauch. Were these other vehicles that you described, one in front and one behind, were they marked police cars?
No, they were unmarked cars, but they had obvious police lights. They had the SWAT officers had uniforms where you could visibly see police written on the uniforms and the police patch of the Myrtle Beach Police Department.
Did the defendant stop?
Yes, she did.
Did she cooperate with the arrest?
She complied. She immediately got out of the vehicle and complied with all their requests.
She didn't try to run or didn't try to do anything like
She
that?
did not.
What were the individuals, well, where were you at during this arrest?
Approximately 25 yards away.
Did she seem to understand that those were police officers who were stopping her and complying with their orders?
Yes, she did.
Now, you talked about the van being taken to a secure facility to be searched. Were you present when that van was searched?
Later that night, yes, I was present for when actually people, Special Agent Debbie Gordon of the FBI, when she went to process the van, had me walk around the van with her from the outside. She took photographs of it, and the van was secure, wasn't unlocked yet. And when we did that walk around, more correct, she noticed the suitcase, and she requested me to obtain a search warrant for the suitcase that was in the van.
Your Honor, with that, there is a stipulation to the admission of People's Exhibit 355 through 370.
I assume they're photographs.
3 items are not photographs.
Okay. But there is a stipulation of 355 to 370. Correct. All right. Exhibits 355 through 370 will be admitted. Go ahead.
We're going to publish with the court's permission People's Exhibit 355. Can I approach and move the easel, Your Honor?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. What do we see in People's Exhibit 355, Detective Woods?
That is the van that Letecia was driving that day, and that is the Myrtle Beach Police Annex where the vehicle was towed to from the scene of Coastal Mall.
We can go to 356 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 356?
356 is now, we've already obtained the warrant to search the suitcase, and now Special Agent Gordon has opened the doors and has started taking pictures of the property that's in the van.
And I want to turn your attention to what appears to be an envelope in the center dash there. Do you see that?
Yes.
Did you know who that envelope was addressed to?
When it was taken out, I could see it was addressed to Letecia Stauch.
Okay, we'll go to 357. Is that the envelope we're talking about?
Yes.
And is the defendant's name on there?
Yes, it is.
We can go to 358 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 358?
The largest thing is the suitcase, which is pink with polka dots, pink and white polka dots.
Is that the suitcase you alluded to earlier where you had to get a warrant for?
Yes.
We see a placard 1 in the driver's seat there. Do you know what was in that item?
There was a cell phone in that area.
Okay. We can now go to People's Exhibit 359. What do we see in 359?
That was the suitcase that I had Detective Daniel Eddy of the Myrtle Beach Police Department go to the magistrate's office to get a warrant just to search that. He brought it down to me, and I delivered that to Special Agent Debbie Gordon of the crime scene unit of the FBI.
And this suitcase, is that the position it was in prior to anyone going into this van?
Yes.
We go to People's Exhibit 360. What do we see in People's Exhibit 360?
The suitcase is now taken out of the van and is being processed by Agent Gordon.
There's some gloves and some scissors to your right on a table. And to your left, there's a box that is People's Exhibit 361. If you wouldn't mind, I'm going to ask you to cut that box open on the red tape on the top of it. And let's see what's inside. So the record's clear, Detective Woods has just pulled what appears to be a suitcase out of the box. Is that the suitcase that you found in the van back on March 2nd, 2020?
This is it.
If you could possibly hold that up and just kind of display it to the jury, I'll move this box out of your way. Now, there appears to be some tags on the top of the bag. Do you know what names are on those tags?
I'm looking, it says Letecia Stauch. It says Tecia Stauch and has a phone number. You want me to put the phone number?
No, that's okay. That's all we need. All right. At this time, I also want to show you People's Exhibit 405, which is an exhibit that's already in evidence. You see that suitcase anywhere in this picture? Right here. Appears to be the same suitcase that you recovered from the van.
Yes, it is.
You can go ahead and resume your seat. Thanks. You can go to People's Exhibit 362 now. What do we see in People's Exhibit 362?
It's the same suitcases we have here, and there's a blanket, blue blanket.
Did you see any blood on the inside of this suitcase?
I saw what I believe to be blood on the blanket, yes.
Could you point that area where you believe there to be blood? There's a pointer up there somewhere too, Detective.
Red handle on
We're
it.
old school here in Colorado, so we've got the. I bet you're an expert.
There's no point.
I can, here you go.
Against the wall.
Oh, it's on the.
Oh.
Oh, we got it. Thank you.
So, here, here, and here.
And you said it appeared to be blood, but was it pretty obvious to you that,
I most likely believed it to be blood, yes.
did you guys note that when you opened the suitcase up? I mean, you didn't say it's ketchup or anything like that, right?
We did not.
Okay. You can go ahead and resume your seat. We can go to 363. What do we see in People's Exhibit 363?
The blanket is laid out processing.
We go to 364. Why do we have this picture?
More, which appears to be blood on the blanket.
And 366. What do we see in People's Exhibit 366?
The contents that were underneath the blanket in that same suitcase that's here.
People's 367.
Is the contents being processed?
Are you slowly removing items out of the suitcase?
I was not, Debbie Gordon was doing that. I was there. I stayed here till the conclusion of this whole search.
Okay. And how about 368? What do we see in 368?
A black bag.
Now, this says placard 1. Does this relate to the placard 1 that we saw earlier in the driver's seat?
Yes, it was. That was in the driver's seat right here.
And then we can go to 369. What do you see in 369?
That is a cell phone that was in that bag.
And do you see any names on this screenshot of the cell phone?
I see Tisha again, and that is the same spelling as is what's on the suitcase.
And then 370 should be there in front of you. It's a physical exhibit. Already in the evidence. But what is 370?
This is that phone that is being shown in that picture.
That's the phone that we see in the picture.
Yes, it is.
Did you or your agency eventually ship these items or have them shipped back to El Paso County, Colorado?
Yes, the phone was taken for processing and everything was sent back to El Paso.
And were you aware what Ms. Stauch was doing after she was arrested?
She was taken also to 3340 Mustang for processing.
And are you aware of any medical concerns that she was claiming at that time? I'm just asking if he's aware at this time.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna sustain it unless he heard it from the defendant.
Did you have any contact with the defendant?
Not about medical issues, no.
Did you watch any of her interview?
Yes, I did.
Did you hear her address any medical issues?
None.
Okay, we won't ask you that question then. Those are my questions, Jar. Thanks.
Cross-examination.
That exhibit up.
Sure.
That. Which name is the same name as the name on the suitcase?
One says Tisha.
Is it Tisha or Tila?
I have to look closely. I am wrong. That's not Tisha.
Okay, it's Tila.
Yes.
No further questions.
I'm sorry, redirect.
No, thanks, Jar.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Detective Woods? No? All right. All right, thank you, Detective. You may step down. Once you step.
I can just have a second to retrieve the exhibit, Sharon.
Yes.
For the record, Your Honor, since this item is already admitted, it's okay that I just publish it.
You need to identify it first.
This is gonna be. Where is that? Okay.
Right, 365's been admitted, you can publish it. Are you gonna be having witnesses use this stuff next?
No.
Set it down on this side so that they can get by. Thank you.
The oxygen screens with. This is a weird well.
Yeah, please. Okay, great. Thank you. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, John Price.
Mr. Price, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. You swear affirm the testimony about giving this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good afternoon, sir. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and then spell your name for the record?
Detective John, spelled Jon, Price, Price.
Mr. Price, what do you do for a living?
I'm a detective for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office,
How long have you worked for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office?
21 years.
What sort of roles have you held in law enforcement?
I've worked in the jail, I've worked on the road as a patrol deputy, and I've worked as a detective.
How long have you been in your current detective role?
6 years.
What sort of assignments have you had as a detective?
I've worked in sex crimes, financial crimes, and currently as a homicide detective.
Okay. What was your assignment back in January of 2020?
I was a homicide detective.
Did you get involved in the investigation into the disappearance of Gannon Stauch?
Yes.
How did you get involved in that case?
I was assigned to primarily be at the searches of the house and also the vehicles. And later on, that kind of morphed into tracking some of the physical evidence as well.
How many times did you go out to the house at 6627 Mandan Drive?
I believe it was 5 or 6.
Okay. Each time you would go out to the house, would you use new information that was gained through the investigation as a reason to go look for potentially more things in the house?
Yes.
You mentioned that you also got into some vehicles as well, is that right?
Yes.
What vehicles did you have a chance to search vehicles? Which vehicles?
I was a part of the search of the Tiguan and the Jetta.
Okay, and what information did you have as it relates to the Jetta? Whose vehicle did you understand that to be?
Harleys.
Harley Hunt?
Yes.
And then the Tiguan, who did you understand that vehicle to be?
The defendant.
We're going to hear from other witnesses at some point in this trial, but did you search with people from the FBI, the Tiguan?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about the Jetta first. Was that search conducted on January 31st, 2020?
Yes.
I'm going to approach with People's Exhibits 709 and 710.
You may, go ahead.
You please take a look at People's 709 and 710. And let me know when you're done looking at them. Do you recognize those items?
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
They are labeled as being identification documents belonging to Harley Hunt and Letecia Stauch, which were collected from the Jetta, and they have my markings on them.
So did you actually collect those items from that Jetta on January 31st, 2020?
Yes.
You should have, I don't know if you want to wear gloves for those items or not. We're going to open those up. If you want to wear gloves, go ahead and do that. And there should be some scissors there. And let's start with People's 709. So you've got the items out of People 709 now?
Yes,
Do you recognize those items specifically?
yes,
Are they in the same condition today or roughly the same condition today as when you collected them back on January 31st?
yes.
At this time, I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit 709.
No objection. Exhibit 709 will be admitted. Go ahead.
What documents do we have in People 709? And just explain that to the jury, please.
709 has Harley Hunt's passport. It has her social security card, has a passport photo, and a South Carolina school document pertaining to Harley Hunt.
Okay. Are you familiar with passports?
Yes,
Are you familiar with how sometimes passports will get stamps in them if you visit foreign countries?
yes.
Can you look through Harley Hunt's passport and tell us if there are any stamps in there for any visits to foreign countries?
There is a stamp for Jamaica, December 14th, 2017. And that's the only stamp I see.
And that's it. Okay. Go ahead and remove replace those documents back into the evidence envelope. And then I'm going to get those off your desk there. While I'm doing that, if you could go ahead and open up 710. So preliminary questions, do you recognize the documents that you've pulled out of the envelope that we have marked with an evidence sticker 710?
Yes,
Are they in the same or substantially the same condition today as the day you collected them back on January 31st, 2020?
yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit 710.
Defense. Objection. Exhibit 710 will be admitted. Go ahead.
What items do we have inside of People's Exhibit 710?
710 has Letecia Stauch's United States passport, has a passport photo, a security public library card with the name Tisha on it, a social security card in the name Letecia L. Harden, a social security card in the name of Letecia Harden Stauch.
I don't want you to read the social security numbers, but is the social security number the same on both of those documents?
Yes.
Okay.
I think this is from a cruise, kind of a spending card from a cruise in the name of Letecia Stauch. Marriage certificate between Letecia and Albert. A photocopy of the same marriage certificate. This is a printout of an email. Which,
No, that's okay.
photocopies of a South Carolina driver's license and the 2 social security cards.
What are the names on those documents of that photocopy?
Letecia Stauch and Letecia Harden, respectively. And a photocopy of the passport,
What's the name on the passport?
Letecia Stauch.
Are there, in any of those documents that we just looked at, any documents with any other names for a first name and then Stauch? Any Taylor Stauch or anything like that?
No.
And you're opening up a secondary envelope that was contained in the evidence envelope?
Yes.
Okay.
Just a general email. A letter from the Federal Bureau of Investigation to Letecia Stauch. A North Carolina birth certificate for Letecia Stauch. A verification of K-12 educator experience form.
What is there a name on that one?
It's difficult to read. or it's Harry County Schools.
Is it Horry County Schools,
Horry
HOR?
County, yeah.
Yeah.
That does have the name Letecia Stauch on it.
Okay,
A infant child CPR certificate in the name of Eugene Stauch.
okay,
A behavioral health consultation information form.
Okay.
An appointment reminder form for Letecia Stauch. A American Red Cross infant child CPR form for Tisha Stauch. A medical report for Letecia Stauch and a second page of that.
okay. Go ahead and put those items back in that secondary envelope, and then I'll ask you some follow-up questions.
Do that later.
Okay. Any documents in there that would, that were addressed to or belong to a name on them with Maria Sanchez?
No.
Accessing the passport that you have there for Letecia Stauch,
Okay.
again, looking for stamps for visits to foreign countries. Are there any stamps in Letecia Stauch's passport for visits to foreign countries?
There's a stamp dated October 22nd, 2017. I can't read it. It says Department of Homeland Security, US. So I
Okay.
think that's probably a re-entry stamp perhaps.
Okay.
A Jamaica stamp, December 14th, 2017. A Mexico stamp, July 24th, 2018. And that appears to be all the stamps.
So are there any stamps in there from Australia?
No,
Are there any stamps in there for Colombia?
no.
You can go ahead and set that to the side. And then as it relates to the Tiguan, I mentioned that we're going to get into a more extensive search through some FBI agents later on in this trial. But did you do a search of that particular vehicle on February 1st of 2020?
Yes.
Or may I approach with People's Exhibit 325?
You may.
Have you had a chance to look at that item, 325?
Yes.
Do you recognize it?
Yes, it is labeled as a receipt from the Colorado Springs Airport dated January 28th from the front passenger seat of, and it's cut off there, but I know it's the Tiguan.
Okay. Is that an item that you actually seized from that Tiguan search on February 1st, 2020?
Yes.
Will you go ahead and open up that envelope, please? Do you recognize the item that's inside of People's Exhibit 325?
Yes.
Is it in fact that parking receipt from the Colorado Springs Airport?
Yes.
Is it in the same or substantially the same condition today as the day that you recovered it?
Yes.
All right, move for admission of 325.
No objection.
All right, exhibit 325 will be admitted.
Is there printing on that, automated printing from the Colorado Springs Airport?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the parking arrangements at the Colorado Springs Airport?
Yes.
Have you gone there both professionally and personally?
Yes.
Okay. So to obtain that type of a receipt from the Colorado Springs Airport, what do you have to do?
When you enter in a vehicle, you get a parking voucher ticket. And then as you exit, you would pay for the amount of time that you've been parked in that parking lot. And you would get a receipt like this as you exited.
Does it stamp on their time stamps to understand when somebody potentially entered or exited that parking area?
Yes, the entry time is January 28th, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. And the exit time is January 28th, 2020 at 7:02 p.m.
That type of evidence, parking receipts from an airport like that where there's stamping time stamps on there, does that help determine movement? of
Yes,
Somebody?
yes,
Okay. And is that why this particular item was seized in this investigation?
yes.
Were there other things that you collected from vehicles that ended up not necessarily being helpful to the investigation?
Sure.
Things like dirt samples or vegetation samples from the undercarriage, that kind of thing?
Yes.
Did that lead to any sort of investigative leads that allowed you to pursue what might have happened with Gannon?
They did not lead very far, no.
Okay. You have just a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
So I have your own, thank you.
Cross-examination. Mr. Cook?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Detective Price, hi. How
Good
are you?
afternoon.
My name is Will Cook and I'm representing along with Mr. Tellini, Letecia Stauch. Do you remember writing a report on February the 18th of 2020 and you requested a laboratory examination of quite a few different items?
Yes,
Okay. And it looks like
of the best use of resources. So I'm not sure if every single item was eventually tested, but I know certainly many of them were.
but if I'm telling you, I'm looking at this report where you requested 15 items be tested, you have no reason to believe that you didn't follow through with that and actually order those items be tested.
I did. I ordered those to be tested.
Do the labs, the scientist or the phlebotomist or the serologist or the DNA analyst, do they have the ability to reject a request for a test? Can they say, I'm going to override you, detective, I'm not testing this, and this is why? Or I'm sorry,
They do have discretion as to what they test.
okay. Do they usually get back and say, hey, I don't think we need to test this, detective, and this is why, and you all agree?
Sometimes.
Or were they just unilaterally not test something?
It depends on the circumstance, specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this investigation, this was a huge investigation, correct?
Yes,
You've had there's been several other deputies that have come up and testified that this was the biggest one they'd ever seen.
it was quite large, yes.
This between the search and the multi-state nature of this investigation, this is the biggest thing by far they had ever been involved in.
That's a fair statement, sure.
Okay. And in fact, you collected air filters from a Kia Rio, cabin air filters from a Kia Rio, and soil debris from the wheel well of a Kia Rio. Is
Yes.
that correct? And ultimately, the soil debris was sent up to a scientist or an expert in Fort Collins, and they couldn't make heads or tails of anything, correct?
Correct.
Okay. What specifically are you looking for, though, when you're collecting soil debris from the wheel well of a car?
At the point that those items were collected, we had not yet located Gannon. And so we were looking for different soil and different vegetation, which might give us a clue where those vehicles had traveled to, and thus give us an idea of the travel patterns or where he might be located at.
Okay. At that time, did you believe that the Kia Rio had been used to dispose of Gannon's body, or did law enforcement believe that?
It was a possibility.
It was a possibility. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it looks like no stone was left unturned. I mean, the engine air filter from the Tiguan, swabs of the undercarriage of the Tiguan, um, the Jetta that was driven by Harley. I mean, everything was swabbed, air filters were examined, everything was done.
It was a very thorough investigation. Yes.
And what date was the Jetta and the Tiguan taken into custody or seized by law enforcement?
Don't know that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
If I told you those vehicles were seized before the house at Mandan Drive was locked down or seized by police, would that sound reasonable to you?
Yes.
Okay. If I told you that quite a few days passed between the seizure of these vehicles, seizures of Miss Stauch's, the defendant, Miss Stauch's telephone, if several days passed from those events to when the house was actually seized and locked off, would that sound right to you?
No, we searched the house on January 28th, which was fairly early on.
Okay, but I'm saying when the house was actually seized
The
on
actual
February
seizure.
7th, like nobody coming in going, we're putting up the tape.
Okay, I agree with you on that. Yes.
Okay. Why did it take so long if you had Miss Stauch on the radar, you had taken her phone, you had taken her cars, you had taken her daughter's cars, you had all this stuff. Why did it take so long to take seizure and control of the house?
That's above my pay grade.
Okay,
I would have no idea.
that wasn't your call.
Yeah, I'm just a little fish. So.
Okay. I even saw in one of the vehicles, there were insects collected from the vehicle to have them tested to figure out where that car had been. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Don't see that a lot in an investigation, do you?
First time I've ever seen it. Yes.
Me too. Have you ever heard of a closed, and I'm talking about travel now, I'm switching. Have you ever heard of a closed loop cruise, as in a cruise ship?
Personally, no, I haven't.
Okay. And do you know in a closed loop cruise, you don't have to have passports?
Yeah, sustained.
Okay. Are you aware that on certain cruise stops, cruises will go around to different islands and stop at different places, that in certain cruises, you do not have to have a passport to get into the country?
I've never been on a cruise. I have no personal experience with cruises.
Okay. And did you know that there were cruise lines that will travel the Caribbean, the Bahamas, Jamaica?
Judge objection. He's already said he doesn't know anything about cruises.
Sustained. If he doesn't know anything about cruises, he doesn't know anything.
Do you know if passport stamps are required of US citizens going to other countries in all situations, or are there exceptions?
I don't know.
Okay. And again, you don't have any idea about closed loop cruises.
No, I don't.
Can I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Me.
That's all I have. Thank you, Detective. Have a good day.
You too, sir.
You direct?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Detective Price? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Before he leaves, Judge, can we have him put the items back in the
Yeah.
evidence?
I think that's probably a pretty good idea.
Thank you, Detective.
And just so that the record is clear, what you have there is one exhibit, but it also has an envelope in it that has different documents in that envelope.
There was two exhibits. One of the exhibits did have a secondary envelope in it, and that's why I was making that record about pulling that secondary envelope out.
So we just need to make sure that secondary envelope gets back to the exhibit that it's supposed to be in. Put it on the table. Right. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
We would call Amber Cronin. And Judge, while we're bringing Ms. Cronin into the, to testify, we're going to be playing some more of these recorded phone calls that we did earlier in the trial. There's, I think, 4 total. And I can tell you the length of them if you'd like me to.
Please.
So People's Exhibit 51, which was previously, hold on just a second, was previously admitted under Mr. Stauch, is 46 minutes long. People's Exhibit 52, previously admitted under Mr. Stauch, is 1 hour and 4 minutes long. Then we have a disc that will be admitted through Ms. Cronin that is 27 minutes and 44 seconds long. And then People's Exhibit 53 is another call that was admitted under Mr. Stauch, but will be published under Ms. Cronin, 29 minutes and 34 seconds.
All right, Ms. Cronin, if you would raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Do you swear to affirm the testimony about to give in this man will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand. And go ahead and have a seat. Mr. Allen, are we going to be using that easel?
No, should I get that out of the way?
I think Mr. Combs would appreciate it.
Be hard to get out if we don't.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Let's see things here. I'll get to the right envelope.
Okay. All right, Mr. Allen?
All right. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you doing?
Very well.
Will you please introduce yourself to the jury and then spell your name for the record?
My name is Amber Cronin, AmberCronan.
Ms. Cronin, what do you do for work?
I'm a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation,
How long have you been with the FBI?
about 15 years.
What training do you have that allows you to do the job you currently do?
I went through Quantico, which is about 5 months, and then I've had additional training since then, periodic training.
Do you also have education that you use to allow you to do the job you do?
Yes, I have a bachelor's degree in criminology and criminal justice.
Did you also serve in the military?
Yes, I did.
Did that help? Does that help you in the job you do as well?
Yes.
What was your job in the military?
I was a military intelligence analyst for 6.5 years.
Okay. What role do you currently serve with the FBI? I know you said special agent, but what does that mean?
Specifically, I'm assigned to work all the crime that occurs at the Federal Correctional Complex in Florence, Colorado.
Do you sometimes get tasked to help out with potentially other local crimes that occur here in the 4th Judicial District?
Yes, as part of the Colorado Springs Resident Agency, we help out.
Okay. What was your assignment back in January of 2020?
I was assigned to the same working as the at the prison.
Okay. Did you get involved with the investigation into Gannon Stauch's disappearance?
Yes, I did.
How did you get involved in that case?
It was El Paso County needed assistance, so they had asked the Colorado Springs Resident Agency, so we helped out.
What was your role in that investigation?
I helped out in multiple ways. I was part of the consensual calls that Mr. Stauch had with the defendant. I am also a member of the FBI's evidence response team, so I assisted on processing a couple of the vehicles. And I actually traveled out to South Carolina for the arrest.
Okay. During the time that this case was being heavily investigated, were there daily meetings, investigative driven meetings to just update everybody involved in the case?
Yes,
Did you attend those meetings?
I did.
Well, what was the purpose of those meetings other than just to update folks?
It's so we could know what was going on in the investigation, new developments of what we were finding.
Excuse me. Would investigators, detectives, special agents with the FBI come to those meetings and report whatever specific assignments they had, and then assignments would be made to act on those developments?
Yes.
You'd mentioned the consensual phone calls. What do we mean when we're talking about consensual phone calls?
It was phone calls between Mr. Stauch and the defendant that were recorded.
What was your role as that process played out?
I was one of the people that was in the room while those phone calls were being made, so I was able to listen to the phone calls as well as at times ask Mr. Stauch to ask additional questions if we had questions.
Would you have meetings with Mr. Stauch prior to the phone calls actually occurring to give him tips on things to say or not say, that kind of thing?
Yes.
And then in the actual, while the phone calls were happening, sometimes you would either suggest things to him or pass notes to him to say or not say?
Yes.
Was another special agent, Johnny Grusing, also involved in that process?
Yes, he was.
Were those phone calls recorded?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I would request permission to publish People's Exhibit 51. And I doubt we'll be able to get all the way through this. This is previously admitted under Mr. Stauch, and it's 46 minutes long.
Okay. And Agent Cronin, you can go ahead and step. Do you have any?
Not during the phone call, Your Honor. Yep.
Agent Cronin, you can go ahead and step down. It's not comfortable to sit there for that length period of time. So go ahead. Exhibit 51 has already been admitted.
And Judge, would you like us to stop at about 10 till, 5 till roughly?
Until.
Okay, we'll do that. People's Exhibit 51. And just for the record, Judge, People's Exhibit 51 is phone call from February 15, 2020 at 10:04 a.m. Yeah, I think we need the screen to be able to see what she needs to click on, Judge.
Oh, so this has video with it?
No, there's no video, but like the other ones, the player actually pops up on that screen.
Oh, I got it. Okay.
I don't even know what number to call her on. I told her to call. Guess I can try this when she's texting.
Why don't they skip forward to the part that actually plays?
Hey,
Why are you moving again?
Why do you think? I mean, it's like a week by week thing. I told you that.
You do what?
I'm like week by week in these hotels.
Why can't you live in the house?
I don't know. I can't even like go in without an escort at this point. So
So how are you paying for hotels?
I just paid a little bit week by week, and Uncle Jeff paid for this past week. So I told you that already. That
No?
yes,
Did you spend last night by yourself?
yes. Why? Who else would I be with?
Should have been with you, Albert.
You think I wasn't lonely on freaking Valentine's Day?
Okay, to be with you. I've been begging to be with you.
We can talk about that, but I want to talk about whatever you got. You talking about on this iCloud?
No, I logged back. I got into my iCloud finally because I only had partial whatever, and I couldn't do a backup. And I finally got the backup done, and there was like a crap ton of messages came through on my phone, and there's this text message that they should have saw on my phone because it came through on February 5th, and it's like basically almost like a retarded person or something. But it says the boy or money or no boy. And I tried to get help. I sent it to the tip line to see if they can check. I've been trying to call all morning to get help, but no one.
Hey, I can't hear you.
I said no one helps me because I'm a bad person.
But
Can
what?
you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But what? I mean, that's all it said. No money, no boy, or something like that.
I'm saying there's a bunch of there's voicemails. Like it came, I had 30-some voicemails, and a lot of them were bull crap, and threats and stuff. So I went through all of them, and like literally all I saw was the first message that said that, and it freaked me out. And I had someone to look up the number to try to see where it was at, and it said that it originated from Washington. That it weren't one of those like fake things. It was an actual number from Washington. Like I had someone track the number where it was at now, and it went to Roy. It was right outside of Roy Elementary.
Where's that at?
I don't know if this is like people scoring with me. I don't know, but I was trying to reach out to you as soon as I seen it, so that they should have solved this on my February 5th.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they're like laser focused on finding Gannon right now, and that's kind of the priority right now. I mean,
But that was why I was saying that. That is about Gannon. Why are you trying to make it seem like I wasn't?
I'm not trying to make it seem like nothing. I mean, I did you tell them about what we talked about yesterday about Quincy Brown and all that?
I sent it in, yes. Did that same thing that they keep posting online because no one was writing back on the numbers that
Well, I guarantee you they're out looking for that dude now because he is freaking. You know how I get all worried about Mike and Landon and all that shit back home. And I looked him up, and he's a freaking, oh my God, sex offender. He's a bad dude, Tisha. And if he's got my son, and I'm freaking, you know how I was about Mike, and he had some criminal stuff, but this is a whole nother level. So I'm sure they're out looking for him now. So.
Did you give them the information?
Yeah, you said you did. I mean.
Yeah, no, I did.
Right, you said you were talking to Bethel, right?
I sent a message to her, but she never wrote back. So I had that Kate somebody's number, the other lady that was with her that day. So I sent it to her because I was like, between her and her, someone would read the messages.
Okay, yeah. I haven't got it. Mark hasn't reached out to me this morning, I mean, based on this dude being as freaking horrible as he is, I'm sure they're out there looking for him. Dude, I mean, can you remember anything else about Quincy Brown other than I know you said you saw his ID? I mean, they had the bike or the SUV, right, with the bike rack. I mean, anything close to an address at all that would help them? Now that you have more.
If you would let me come be with you and help, I will walk everybody through everything. But you're refusing that and not standing up for me to do that.
No, actually, I am. I'm trying to get this relevant information that you're providing to them. So that is standing up for you.
Okay, taking up for me too is also you got to understand, Albert, and this is not me trying to take away from whatever. Unless I'm like protected completely, this is it's just a whole crazy thing you got to understand, Albert.
Well, help me understand.
Begging you to tell you that I begged you to come stay with you. I've been like, hey, let me just stay with you, spend the night, please. I will talk to you, please. Everything. I tried everything. They just keep telling me no, and I hate being lonely, and I hate all this because I'm not a bad person. I'm innocent. I agreed to even take a lie detector test for you.
Well, that's not for me. I'm not going to give you a lie detector test. Well, I mean,
it's not permissible in court because it's not. I said for you to believe me.
But who are you? Have you talked to them about this lie detector test, or you just told me about it?
No, I got recalled from big time attorneys. I got Jose Baez law firm willing to come and meet me. That's how much they know it's screwed up. You know who the Baez law firm is?
You know I don't pay attention to that shit.
Do you know who they represented?
No, tell me.
A lot of big time names. And like People magazine, people are like pissed that they're not, that the way that things are going is not the direction that I think. And so if you don't want to be on my team to be like against them fucking everything, then these people will put it out there.
What are they going to put out there? What? That you're going to take a lie detector?
No. Yeah, I will for you. I will do it for you.
Well, we'll do it then. Then let's do it. Let's do it now. I mean, call the FBI or call whoever and tell them you're ready today.
I don't know who to call. You have all these contacts. Nobody will talk to me.
The only person I know. Listen, I sent you a number. I think. What was her name from the FBI? Amber, maybe. I sent you an email. You look back on your email. You got a contact, and she when she called me that one time, she reached out and said, anything you need, any way we can help, anything we can do to help find Gannon. And I think that would qualify as something that would help. Okay?
What would qualify?
You're talking about his lie detector test.
That will help find Gannon by me taking a lie detector test when I've already told you?
If you're, listen, I know, but listen to me. Walk through this logically. You're smart now, okay? If you're saying they're barking up the wrong tree, okay, and that wrong tree is you, and the lie detector test will get them off of that tree and on a different tree, don't you think that will help?
Yeah.
I mean, it'll, back to what we talked about yesterday, it'll show your innocence. It'll show you didn't do it. It'll show you don't even need immunity. Okay? It'll prove all those things.
You still have to, because lie detector tests are not permissible in court.
Okay, but I'm just trying to, you said you'll do that for me.
What a lie detector test does is prove what a person's saying to someone they're trying to prove to. Like people go to Dr. Phil and do it, places like that.
Okay, all right. Hey, Tisha, listen. I'm willing to take the lie detector test. You brought it up. I mean, I'm willing to work with you or whatever. You can contact the FBI and do it. I'm willing to take that result for my peace of mind. But if you're going to sit here and tell me it's not worthwhile, then why even talk about it?
I said for you. I said I wanted to do it for you. You're focusing on doing it for someone else. I'm trying to tell you I wanted
No. It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about Gannon. If they're barking up the wrong tree, babe, if they're barking up the wrong tree, this will get them on the right tree, okay?
Okay.
So you need to reach out to Amber, whatever her name is. That's the FBI lady that I talked to the one time. And you need to tell her whatever you're willing to do or not do, okay? That's the only way I know to go about it. So, but instead of me waiting on the lie detector test for me and you, I know that'll confirm it. Just tell me the truth right now.
You won't even help me get the freaking ID so I can go to a doctor's office, and you want me to just keep going over and over and over the same thing.
Yeah, Tisha, yes, I do, because
you kick me off of TRICARE or something?
I can't kick you off of TRICARE. That only happens if, anyways, you're trying to spin this in a different direction. We're talking about Gannon here.
Just trying to go to the doctor, that's it.
You could go to the doctor any day of the week. I can't kick you off of TRICARE.
They took all my stuff. I need an ID.
You need the sponsor social security number, and I know you know my social, so don't even play me, Tisha.
Can't go on base
Okay.
without the ID.
Well, go to if you got to go to the doctor that bad, go to the doctor somewhere and we'll pay the fee. Okay, that's I'm not gonna say that's irrelevant, but we're focused on Gannon right now. Okay.
Okay, and we're trying to be with you to focus on Gannon. So I'm asking you
And guess what? We are talking together right now, so we are working together on this right now on the phone. Okay.
Come and stay with you, and I will meet them to do the test and everything.
Listen. I need the truth first, and that's what I've said the whole time. Tell me the same. Listen, let's just stop. Okay. No, don't. Oh God, me.
You still lie detector test, and now it's still not good enough for you, Albert.
No, it is. It's perfect. That's what I want you to do, okay? Because there has been multiple stories, but tell me the story right now that you're going to tell on the lie detector test. That's what I want.
You don't tell stories on a lie detector.
I know. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want me to put you through that and ask you questions? I'll do it. Okay. Is the bike accident a true story? Did he fall and bust his head, or was his head already bleeding before you got there? Which one is it?
He's bleeding.
I'm just asking. Was the bike accident true?
He's already be bleeding.
I don't know, because I've fallen off my bike 100 times and didn't bust my head bad enough to go to the 911, right? Okay, I'm just trying to sort through this. Is the bike accident true?
Albert, I did not hurt you.
I didn't ask you that, okay? Is the bike accident true? It's yes or no. This is lie detector test right now. Yes or no?
Somebody has Gannon, Albert. I need protection to help you.
I understand that, and I'm trying to help you right now.
Beat me. He will abuse me. He will hurt me, and I keep telling you this, and you're not catching the hint.
Is the bike accident true? That's where we're starting.
Are you going to protect me from him?
Yes, you're gonna. If once you call Amber, you're gonna get the protection you need. I don't have a gun. I don't have a badge. Amber does, and she's the one that's gonna protect you.
But you are my husband.
I am, and as your husband, you need to respect that I'm trying to give you the best guidance I have, okay, and get you to the protection you're asking for. If you call Amber, she'll get somebody with you wherever you're at to protect you, okay?
But why aren't you willing to do that?
How am I going to protect you against people trying to beat you and kill you?
Come live with you because you are my husband and you're supposed to provide for us a place to stay.
Right. And I've done that from day one. So you're not going to question my ability to protect or provide you. So listen, hey, back up. You said you wanted to do something for me.
Yes or no, Albert?
No.
Come stay with you.
I'm not answering any questions right now because you told me that you could do something for me. And that's answer some yes and no questions, basically a lie detector.
Be with you. I didn't say like you're going to put me on. We can talk about this in person. Why does it have to be over phone so you can like record people and shit?
So now I'm recording you. What you've done to me for 5 years is what I'm doing to you. That's projection, Tisha, and I'm not putting up with that, okay? All right?
Did you record me yesterday?
No, why would I record you? I haven't recorded anything. What are you talking about?
Would you coach and you what to say?
No, I don't need a coach. I've done this for a living for 11 years, Tisha.
I said I want to talk to you in person.
All right, well, guess what? Your freaking sister's calling me. Tell her to leave me alone.
Who? What sister?
Amy, whatever her name is.
She shouldn't be calling you. Don't even talk to them.
Well, I've been getting calls and texts from all your people, and I'm sick of it. Listen, you know what? If meeting is what it takes to get to the truth, I'll meet with you, but you need to answer some questions first. That is your way of proving to me that a meeting is worthwhile. Okay? Number one, I got 3 or 4 questions, okay? Number one, is the bike accident true?
No.
No. Is Quincy Brown true?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So what happened? Okay, that's my next question. What happened to get Gannon to Quincy Brown? How did Quincy Brown get my son?
Okay, it doesn't matter how many times I tell you, you're still going to call me a liar.
No,
You're not going to take
That's
the time
not true
to
now.
help me.
That's not true. I've given you every opportunity to tell the truth, just like I'm doing now. Okay. I haven't called you a liar. I've said some pieces of the story have been not true. Okay. I'm not sitting here calling you names. I'm not putting you down. I'm asking for truth. Okay. You said the bike accident is not true now. Fair enough. We're done with that. Okay. What happened?
We were going to get you a bike, though. That was true.
Okay, so you were going to get me a bike. Fine. Okay, let's get past the bike. If the bike has nothing to do with anything, then let's just forget about the bike and the trip to the bike.
Trying to be a cool mom, okay?
Okay.
I wanted to hang out with some friends, and I was just trying to be cool because I'm never looked at as being cool. So I told Gannon, hey, you can have a sleepover, whatever, yada, yada, yada. That was supposed to happen on Saturday or something. He did have this friend that had a car, and I told him, your daddy said no. I told him that on Sunday or whatever day it was. But prior to that, he'd already said something to me about this, and I tried to talk him through the situation. So the plan was he was going to have a sleepover. We split both the beds together, yada, 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 yada. That was just supposed to be the plan. I was just trying to be a cool mom. I just wanted to be accepted by Gannon for him to be like, wow, yeah, she's always kind of strict on us, but maybe she let me do a little bit that I shouldn't probably be doing. Hey, that's all.
Yeah, okay, that's
It went downhill from there. I'm telling you. Like,
Okay,
I didn't
okay.
do anything to Gannon.
okay. So
All these people, listen to me.
I'm sorry, I'm listening.
Tired of all these people putting all this stupid stuff about blood and all this bullcrap. If there's any blood in the house, it's because of Gannon. Gannon bleeds all the time.
Okay,
There's no massacre occurred in our home. It's not what people are putting in their head. There's nothing like that. Okay? It's nothing. I'm sick of hearing people say, well, if he hurt his foot, he couldn't be walking. Oh my God. It was just blood from his foot. That's it. There was no, he hit his head or bullcrap like that. I'm tired of all these conspiracy theories, and now it's in your head that you think that I've done something to Gannon in our house. That's what you said yesterday. That is not true. Those blood there's just simply from what happened to his foot. And yes, I've already admitted to you that his arm was burned.
okay.
He admitted that to you. Wasn't that bad? Did it have blood? Yes. And from where the candle was.
But
I did everything I could. So
Right.
if you're asking about that part of it, see, what y'all are doing is trying to take two different things. You're trying to think that just because I didn't abuse Gannon emotionally in that video, nothing. The whole point of that was he was so upset. It wasn't about, it was meaning I was going to replace the items for him. It was trying to be, okay, don't worry about it. It's a secret. I'm not going to say anything. I was trying to be cool. Okay? Maybe if I let my guard down for trying to be cool, I let him stay up 30 minutes late that night, trying to be cool. Just trying to be like, we'll start working on, hey, you stand up 30 minutes later than Lena. So any of that you got from some mind that people were trying to say I was abusing him on some video shit, it was not. Gannon was upset because I was sitting there holding him, and then everybody saying something about whatever. I assessed the situation. It wasn't a lot of tons and tons of blood. We got it up. It was on his wall a little bit. I mean, it was not even a lot.
so you cleaned his wall up?
But he did.
Oh, okay.
There was blood on the things we cleaned up stuff. It was nothing. It was from his arms and his foot. That's all from me outside. There was nobody's head it hit. You could hear in all these stories. Gannon's head was hit. He was doing this. No, Albert. If he would have been in that situation, I get on the phone and I call 911. I'm not stupid. Do you think I'd much rather be sitting here with someone saying that I was being irresponsible or whatever than someone accusing me of hurting a child? Do you think that? That's the way I panic at the sight of blood? Yes, I freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, stop peeling it. He peeled it and peeled it and peeled it. If I yell at him for peeling it, it's going to look like I'm mad at him. You don't understand.
Okay.
Everybody the true story, but what they're doing is they're coming in there and trying to say just because some lady who thinks she's hot shit that's been talking to you, apparently she posts online all this bullshit.
Who? What lady?
I don't know, trivia, somebody.
Who?
She's fucking stupid.
I haven't talked to nobody.
Okay, well, she's online saying she's talking to you and Landon, and you and Landon was saying there was blood all over Ganna's room. Blood everywhere in the house. Blood on the stairs.
Who is this now?
That is not true. If it was anything, it was from the foot, and I stepped not outside. I stepped in it on the carpet when I freaking took the carpet up that we walk outside on. But nobody cares that that's how it happened. That's where blood came from. It was not puddled. We cleaned it up and smeared it. Sorry.
What freaking lady are you talking to?
The beds were already put together because I already told Gannon he could have a sleepover.
The beds were pushed together.
I had pushed them together because I had told him on Sunday he could have a sleepover. I didn't know that his stomach was going to go to start hurting. I had already said he was doing his box.
But who was the sleepover with? Was it Braden?
He just asked me, could he have a sleepover even though it was a school night? After we were on the hike. And the reason I said yes is we were sitting there talking about the whole coach thing. He was talking to me about the sisters, and all he had was sisters. I said yes, just because I felt so bad, because here we are both in an emotional moment. I'm upset about Kobe. He's upset about him having girls, yada, yada, yada. I agree. Sorry. I usually don't agree to things. I was trying to be like, okay, maybe this is a good chance, but maybe bend the rules just a little bit. So yes, to Gannon, you can have sleepover. Gannon pushed his beds together. Yada, yada, yada. I don't know what happened, why he didn't go ask about sleepover. I don't know what happened wherever. I don't know. He didn't ever come say such and such, didn't say whatever. I just know his stomach was hurting. So I assumed he didn't want to be having a sleepover with the boy, whoever the boy was.
Why?
He just tell me.
Hold on. Why? So you were going to let it, let me back up.
I was going to let the boy, but he said his brother had a call.
Right. Okay, fine. But he's never pushed the beds together for a sleepover before. Where did that come from?
What do you mean? I do.
No, usually they
did push the beds together.
Because
they were, Albert, we pushed the beds together because he had all the things lined up around the room in little cardboard box things. They were all lined up around the room, and we pushed the beds together. That was it. I mean, me pushing the beds together is not a crime.
I'm not saying it was. It's just weird because to my knowledge, he's never done that.
He was building I guess he was going to build a fort. I don't know.
Okay.
It was just for Sunday. They got pushed back. I mean, it was nothing.
Okay. All right.
So that is the only reason. That is the only reason when they got pushed back that he would have had normal, that he would have peeled his arm after it happened on Sunday.
So
what I don't do is whoever your friend is, a neighbor that knows all this bullshit, to give you the video footage of running out when the daggone fire was going on, and you will see. Oh, was I being whatever? Was I fussing? Was I doing anything but being loving to children?
Right.
I told everybody, oh, it's okay. We're gonna fix it. Nobody was yelling at anybody. Nobody was angry with anybody. Nobody was hurting anybody. Nobody was doing anything wrong.
But so
it wasn't even that. I was scared.
But back up to something you said that that really struck me, Tisha. You said it went downhill. How? What do you mean? How did it go downhill? And then how did this Quincy Brown freaking dude get involved?
The story about Quincy. He told me.
No, but tell me the part about how did it go downhill? That's what I need to know. You said it went downhill fast and it got out of control, and maybe you freaked out, whatever. But
I never said anything about getting out of control. Now you're putting words in my mouth. I never said
Okay,
that.
you said it went downhill, Tisha.
I said it went downhill, meaning Gannon was supposed to have a sleepover. His stomach started hurting. That's why we didn't get to have the sleepover. That's what it means. It means that.
Okay.
it
Okay,
went
I
downhill,
got you.
meaning
I got you.
he stayed up late.
All right, so listen.
See how when I talk to you, do you see how you already put me as if I'm some criminal?
No. I haven't criminalized you at all. I'm asking you questions. That's what you wanted me to do, and I'm asking you questions.
I was dead feed here. I mean, really? Come on, Albert. That is not you saying to me if, gosh, how many times have you left out of town and my wife just took care of everything? That's not you doing that. That's not you taking my side. It's you picking up on something stupid about us.
Hey, I can't hear you.
Building a box. I said, you're saying something about us putting beds together when the child was building a box because you thought this is a box for his son. It's a problem if I get involved, and if it's a problem if I do it the wrong way.
No, I'm just
the right way.
I'm just trying to figure out.
Everything.
Tisha, babe, listen, okay? I'm worried to death about Gannon's safety, where he's at, all these things. I mean, yesterday, what you told me the bike story is not true now, okay? But you also said he had a hit.
You know how I feel? You want me to be honest with you? You know how I feel? I feel like if I just tell you something like that, it's what you want to hear. That's honestly how you make me feel. You make me feel if I just tell you there's some truck, because I even sit there and listen to you go, okay, it was an accident. Okay. This is what someone you to say, or you're
No.
because that is not Albert.
No. Yes,
There.
actually, yes, it is.
No.
As a recruiter, I did the same shit for 11 years, having to dig into people's past and everything, okay? And to get the truth. And you said, all right, listen, you told me, you keep telling me what I just want to hear. I just want to hear the truth, Tisha, okay? All right, hold on. Yesterday, listen, yesterday, and we've passed this point, but you said there was a bike accident with a head injury. So is it just the bike accident that's not true? Or is it the head injury also that's not true?
No, there's no head injury or bike accident. I just told you. I felt like you wanted me to say something to you.
Okay, so now, what did freaking Quincy Brown do with Gannon? How did...
Can I ask you something? Do you think first of all, I want you to put this in perspective.
Okay.
Do you think I even know my way around Colorado, first off?
Yeah, we've been here a year now. You go all over the place.
Okay, Colorado Springs, right?
You've been, yes. And we've been all over up there around the outlets, and we've been up there to Denver a bunch. Yes, I think you know a little bit about Colorado, so don't play me on that, Tisha.
I wasn't even going there. Do you see how I said that just to see you jump at me? Do you see how I said that?
Well, good. You got me. You got me jumping, all right? My son's out there missing with Quincy Brown, and you got me jumping. You win, all right? What's your next question?
Listen to me. Can you listen to me?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
We'll pause it here, and just for record purposes, I think the timestamp is 29 minutes and 45 seconds.
Looks like it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our evening recess. If we can have everyone back in the jury room ready to go at 9 o'clock in the morning, we should be able to start on time. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. With that, have a good evening. We'll see you in the morning. All right, for the jury, please. You may all be seated. Record should reflect the jury has left the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time, prosecution?
Judge, if we could approach.
Okay.
Her attorney's like, I am out of here. Yeah, so it's great having you guys this afternoon. I appreciate it. I appreciate the chat. It makes it easier for me and more enjoyable for those viewing for sure. Like I said earlier, go check out some of the videos I have on other cases that I have uploaded. They're not lives, they're uploads. As soon as they end, we will too, and then we'll be back here at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time tomorrow morning.
Okay. Court will be in recess then. We'll see everybody in the morning. Thank you.
All right.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening, and I will see you in the morning. Good night.